Good morning, Bravo bosses, and welcome to I Take Bravo Very Seriously with me, your host, Dana. Today on the podcast agenda is housekeeping items, and then we get into Teddy's divorce update, mom talk drama, Vanderpump rules updates, tea from the Bravo FanFest in Miami this past weekend, the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills taglines are here, then we get into the Real Housewives of OC reunion part 3, and Real Housewives of Salt Lake City from last week. Let's get into it. Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm happy to be here. I'm in such a good mood because my mental health is in such a good place because I am no longer at my shitty job. So, like I said, just in a good place, happy to be here, smiling ear to ear if you're watching me on YouTube. And just a reminder in terms of housekeeping items, guys, go subscribe to Hurrdat Entertainment's YouTube channel. You can watch my full length podcast episodes there, as well as anyone else who's on the podcast network. So, I used to have my own YouTube channel, I Take Bravo Very Seriously, but now I've just merged that with the Hurrdat Entertainment's YouTube channel. So just go subscribe over there. You can watch the full length videos, or if you prefer listening, you can always still do that on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And I also want to remind you guys about my merch. And there's a lot of really cute merch. You'll see me wearing it, not right now, but I'm pretty much always wearing it in most of the episodes. There are t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, toques, mugs, just some really cute stuff that say I take Bravo very seriously and have like love you BBs, other really cute quotes that I say for the show. I think you'll really enjoy it. They're not expensive and they're very, like, really, really good quality. And I'm not just saying that because it's my merch. Like, I've gone ahead and bought it all, and it's really, really thick, good quality material. And that's why I've been wearing it all the time. So definitely head over there, check it out, as well as the merch for the other shows as well on hurrdatmedia.com. Other housekeeping items is that I think I want to start pumping out 2 shows a week as like a regular thing. So with all the new shows coming out, like we've got Southern Charm coming up, probably not this week because it's Thanksgiving, but the following week. And we have Real Housewives of Beverly Hills in full force. We have Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. I think we still have like half a season left because we just got the mid-season trailer. Southern Hospitality is starting January 2nd, which I honestly don't think you guys should sleep on, especially for those of you who are sort of missing your Vanderpump Rules fix. Southern Hospitality is it because it's basically about a bunch of kids working in a restaurant under a Lisa Vanderpump type person, which is Leva from Southern Charm. And they're still like poor enough and stupid enough to be making really dumb decisions. Like they're not in that place like where the Vanderpump Rules kids are, where they're rich and their decisions are different. So this is still messy enough to feel very Vanderpump Rules like. So I'd still recommend. But with all of that coming out, and I still want to make sure I get you guys all the news because what I've been doing right now is basically picking a few things and telling you guys about it and then figuring you can get the rest of it on my Instagram. But I don't know about you guys. I just feel like more interested in the pop culture news lately than I do in the recaps. But I just don't know where you guys are sitting. So I was sort of thinking maybe Mondays could be like a pop culture Mondays, and that's just pop culture stuff. And I fill you in on all the stuff that's been going on in the Bravo world for the past week. And then later on in the week, I could do recaps on Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Beverly Hills, and Southern Charm when it comes back. So that could be the 2 episodes a week. Why don't you guys let me know what you think? Reach out to me on Instagram at the Bravo Investigator or at I Take Bravo Very Seriously, or send me an email at Brunchandbravo. Let me know what you think. I'm happy to do whatever makes you guys happy because you guys are my audience, you're my people, you're my BBs. So I just want to make sure you all are happy, but I definitely want to be doing more content and more episodes for you guys. So I just want to make sure it's something that you'll enjoy. But let's get into it because we are here today to talk all the mess. And so I record this episode on Sundays. So literally seconds before I was ready to record, Teddi Mellencamp made a statement about her divorce, but barely. So I'll read it to you guys. It's like barely a statement. So she posts a video on Instagram of herself like working out. And it says, the only person who can change your life is you. We have 2 options: pretend to be a victim or stand up and fight for yourself. We all deserve peace and happiness. I have cried and mourned. I have taken accountability, lol, and apologized for things I have done wrong. Now I have given myself permission to grow and thrive. I have decided to not pander to the media and tell my side because, in the big scheme of things, clickbait means nothing, and of course, 3 sides to every story. How I can stand up and show up for the people that do matter. This is called being an adult. This is what saying it with my full chest means. And then the caption is giving myself permission to grow and thrive. Um, that was a whole lot of nothing. What was that? Like, how have you taken accountability? Because, okay, we obviously don't know what she has said to Edwin or her children or to the wife of the man that she was sleeping with, right? Like, it's possible that she's had conversations with them and taken accountability. But I do have to say that she does owe the public something because not only is she a public figure, but she's literally an accountability coach. So she owes the public that are at least her clients something in that regard because to actually use the word accountability and then say that you have taken that when everyone sort of thinks that's such a joke because of all things you are is an accountability coach and you went ahead and did something that you didn't hold yourself accountable for. I mean, it's just such a joke and I get what you're saying that like why bother when the media is just going to turn it into something else. I get that, but that's also sort of a cop out. That sort of reminds me of Steven from Love is Blind if you guys were watching this past season. Like he did a bunch of insane stuff and when he was called out on it at the reunion, he was basically like what's the point? No one's going to listen to me. No one's going to care what I have to say. Everyone's going to twist it around. Uh, okay, is that an apology? Like I don't really know, right? But like if you're choosing to be a public figure, which she is, right? Like she's not on TV, but she's on Two Teas in a Pod. And that's a very, very popular podcast. She has sponsors, she has ads, she has an audience. And I know it seems like a personal thing, and so like why does she have to apologize to us? I'm not saying she has to apologize to us, but it is strange to keep so quiet when and not feel like you owe us anything when you're constantly ripping apart people on TV for not being accountable. You're constantly ripping apart, I don't know, maybe your clients for not being held accountable. And you're constantly ripping apart us as content creators and podcasters for what we say online. So if we all have to be accountable, why don't you and why don't you in the same way? So I guess this is all we're gonna get from her on it, and unless she ever comes back to TV, I don't know if we're gonna end up finding out the full story. Unless Edwin just goes ham, which I kind of hope he does, but like, girl, this move isn't it. I really don't appreciate this move. This is actually a very Teddi Joe move because it is very, very boring. All right. Let's move on to some mom talk drama. So, The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, I believe, is filming season 2 right now. And Taylor Frankie Paul was at the CMA Awards the other day, and then she posted this story saying, "Not a single one of my girls from Mom Talk said anything on my CMA post. Such a big night for me. Awkward." And that was weird because I thought I did see them post things for her. So Jessie from the show posted something where she said on Instagram, repost the CMA's TikTok of you, check. Post you on my story, check. Text you all day to congratulate and hype you up, check. Like this post, check. Free clip ins for filming in events like this, check. Free hair for your mom, check. Shit, I forgot to comment even though I'm on vacation with my family and trying not to scroll too much. I'm the worst friend. Forgive me, Queen Taylor. I'll bow down. And I'm like, this is weird. I also like swear I saw a story of Jessie doing Taylor's hair that day for the CMAs. So then Demi posted an if you know you know Instagram story that says projection is so funny when you're self-aware cuz people really can't see outside of their own perspective and experiences. Like honey, nothing you has said has shit to do with me. Sounds like this is actually about you. And I'm like, okay, this is starting to feel a little like weirdly fake and manufactured. Like I'm not really sure. Then Jessie even ended up posting her text messages with Taylor where it says, "Good luck today. You're going to kill it. Can't wait to watch. If you need a good breakfast spot in Nashville, you can order or go to Biscuit Love. It's," and then like some emojis of it being like delicious. And then Taylor responding, "I love you. Thank you. I don't get time for anything. Here all day and night, leave at 5 a.m." And then there's captions saying like, "I guess support has to be public to count and fulfilled my friendship duties by commenting sorry at Taylor Frankie Paul." Then there was another one from Jessie saying like, "This all feels like fake manufactured for the show." So then Taylor ended up doing another Instagram story and she spoke to this a little bit. So I'm going to play that clip for you guys now so you can hear what Taylor had to say.
But first off, we are not allowed to talk about any storylines, so this is not made up by any means. A little concoction I made myself, I guess. I thought it was awkward that every single one of my friends was silent. That's all That's all I meant by that. I have a lot of supportive girls in this group, and I never said anyone specifically is not supportive, because they are. Not a single one. I just felt off by it, so I made a petty post. And are we shocked? Since Demi is the most triggered by it, it's interesting because she phone called me the other day saying, I feel like you don't really support me on social media. So it's weird that it matters when it comes to her, but when it comes to me, it shouldn't be a big deal, and they don't have to bow down to me. Sure, you don't have to like my stuff, that's fine. Again, nowadays, it's your message without saying a message, and we can, I think, all agree. For all the girls telling me I should have handled this differently and offline, as they're literally eating me alive online right now, maybe they feel justified, but don't come at me if you're going to do the exact same thing.
So, I don't know. I feel like this completely sounds completely manufactured and fake for the show. Nothing about this seems real because, like I said, I just showed all the evidence from several of the girls showing their support for her, so I don't really know what she's talking about. It doesn't necessarily mean that she's trying to manufacture something for the or when she said like, I'm not we're not allowed to talk about storylines, that's fine, but you may just be creating something outside of the show right now, I guess, in terms of trying to create interest, because it doesn't seem real whatsoever, and I think people are actually really annoyed and bored by this because we were so in love with the show, we were so in love with these girls. We like the authenticity. Even if reality TV isn't 100% real, and we know it's not, we want it to feel as authentic as possible. So when the girls are doing things like this, it just feels, like I said, very fake, very manufactured, very put on for the show. I hope this isn't the kind of thing we're going to continue to get until the show airs, because we don't need it. We really don't. I'm happy to see them continue to do little TikTok dances just to remind us that they exist until the show airs. But things like this are just kind of stupid. And even for Taylor to say, like, look at these people or the other girls coming at me on social media when they came at me for dealing with this on social media. Well, they have to, because if you're calling them out on social media, they then have to respond on social media. Otherwise, it doesn't look like they responded at all. So you kind of gave them no choice. I don't love it. I love these girls. I really do. Love me some Taylor Frankie Paul, but this was a little blah, you guys. Not a fan. Okay, so Sheena did an episode of Shenanigans this week. Oh, sorry, we're moving into our Vanderpump Rules updates. Okay, so Sheena did an episode of Shenanigans this week, and she was answering questions like she typically does, like fan questions. And people were asking her who she thought like the queen bee of the show is. And she said Stassi because Stassi was the queen bee of Sir. But she says that if the show had actually filmed at Villa Blanca, that she might have been the queen bee. And people started pretty much ripping this quote apart online because it's pretty funny. I mean, I don't know, right? Like, we never really saw her in her element at Villa Blanca. We do know that when the show started, Vanderpump Rules, Sheena was migrating from Villa Blanca to Sir. We knew that Ariana worked at Villa Blanca. We knew that Tom used to work at Villa Blanca, Tom Sandoval. I know that she had a lot of friends there and she may have been popular there, but I don't think Sheena ever will give off, and don't tell her I said this, I don't think no matter what setting she's put in, I don't think she gives off like star of the show energy, which is fine. Not everyone is meant to be that, and it's not even necessarily something to strive for. I just can't ever picture Sheena as the star of the show, the mainstay, the queen bee in any environment. Even if it's an environment where she's the most popular person, I still just really can't picture her being that one, because she's always been the one who struggled with loyalty, right? So how can you be in charge of everyone in a way when you can't decide who you like? So yeah, people thought that was funny. She talked a little bit about like the Jessica Walters thing, which is Lala's assistant. So someone had asked like if she knows what happened with that or if she can talk about that. And basically all she said was that she knows that Lala is really amazing to work for and that she's such a badass boss and that anyone would be lucky to work for her and that that's why she only works with family because they can't leave you. So using the words leave you implies that Jessica left. And I mean, we've talked about this a few times now. We know it's money related, but what is kind of changing the landscape now is when I had my friend Amber on last week, Breaking the Rules pod clips, we had this information that Vanderpump Rules was probably going in production in February and that it was only going to do maybe up to 7 episodes and then maybe even transition into that new show with a new set of cast from Sir or Tom Tom or any of those restaurants. which meant that Lala wouldn't be making as much money, which meant that she didn't have as much money to pay Jessica. And we're not just talking about give them Lala because she doesn't appear to be Lala's assistant anymore either, because that was the initial job that she had signed up for. So people had also asked Sheena if any of these rumors about Vanderpump Rules were true, and she, actually gave us some info here, or sort of lack thereof, but sort of at least kind of tells us what we know and what we don't know. So I'm going to play this clip here from Shenanigans.
VPR 12 will be happening anytime soon. Honestly, I do not know. But what I can say is all these reports that I'm seeing with all of these details, like there's going to be a 3-week shooting schedule in January. People are holding out for more money, contracts, this and that. I mean, no truth to that at all. And it's like, I would love for the show to continue because I do feel like there's more story to tell. But I think there are big questions where it's like, where do we go from here? How could this group still make a show together if anyone can do it? I have faith in our production team. Of course, they are incredible. That's why they've been nominated for Emmys 2 years in a row. But I also wouldn't want to force something that compromises like the legacy of the show. I mean, we've had 11 incredible seasons. And when we signed on, I don't think in our wildest dreams we could have ever imagined.
So at least that puts to rest that all those rumors aren't true, because if anyone knows what's going on, it would be Sheena. And if Sheena isn't aware of what's going on, and if she's saying that all those things that we've been hearing about money and about a shorter filming schedule and about just doing a few episodes aren't true, then what is going on? And what's going on with Lola? And maybe the situation with Lola is not even that she's going to have less episodes and therefore less money next year. Maybe the situation is she's like, look, I may not even have a job next year at all. Maybe that's the mentality she's coming from, especially given that they normally would have filmed by now, right? So her financial situation is very different. Normally, the show would be airing in January. So this entire past summer, her financial situation would have been much different, and it's different going forward because we don't know what's going to happen. And maybe because of that, she couldn't afford Jessica. So that makes a lot of sense. Plus, Jessica's making it pretty clear that she's starting a podcast. I've talked about this before, and I'll keep talking about it because she keeps posting from what looks like a podcast studio with chairs and mics and all of this stuff set up. I don't know what the podcast will be about. I highly doubt it'll be about reality TV. She has like a ton of other passions. She's into like karate and stuff. But grow and prosper. And I even actually found this old clip from Vanderpump Rules. I was watching season 9 the other day, which I know is ridiculous because it's like the worst season ever. Like, who would torture themselves like that? Me. So I was torturing myself and I was watching season 9 and I saw the scene when Jessica was hired by Lala. And Randall says to her, what your goal should be with this assistant is that this person should grow with you and learn the business with you. And then one day take over, give them Lala for you. And that was the intention, that this person would learn and grow with her, right? And that's not what ended up happening with Jessica. I mean, she did get to grow and do that kind of thing, but she didn't get to, create the empire with Lala. Instead, she's going to probably go off and do her own thing. And yeah, that could all be money related, and I'm sure it is. I'm sure this isn't about a falling out. I kind of agree with Sheena, and I said the same thing a few weeks ago, where it's difficult when you're working with a friend, because if something financial gets in the way, it could end up affecting your friendship. I would actually probably even say the same about family. I probably wouldn't work with family either for those same reasons, right? So I don't know if Sheena's necessarily right, but um I guess we'll see what Jessica has to show, and I really want them to figure out what's going on with Vanderpump Rules soon so the rest of us can make plans for the rest of our lives. Like, come on, people. All right. Then we had Brittany do an episode of When Reality Hits. So this is her podcast with Jax, and she did it with her friend Zach Wickham, who you know also from the Valley. So as you will recall, Jax and Brittany both did episodes of Bravo's Hot Mic with Alex Baskin last week. And there was a lot of stuff that Jax said about Brittany. He sort of came for her quite a bit, and she was really upset. And I had mentioned this to you guys last week. Once she heard his episode, she started coming for him in the comments. She started coming for him in the comments about when he was claiming that they had hooked up, and when he was claiming that that he initiated the divorce. So she had a lot to say. One of the things she had to say was that it takes a really long time to leave an abusive relationship, and she felt that this was an emotionally abusive relationship. I think she's getting the feeling, because she kept mentioning this in the episode, that she's not trying to get people to feel bad for her. I guess she feels like people are saying, we don't feel bad for you. She's saying, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to get everyone to understand where I was coming from. And I think people do. I think people just like I said, don't feel bad for her because they feel like this person was so obviously who he was now back then, and so you should have known. And like it's difficult. Obviously, you're in love with someone, and how can you pull yourself out of something when you feel so strongly for someone? Like I get that. But that's just sort of where she wants people to know that she's coming from. She said that she was the one to initiate the divorce, and he was lying about that. And she also said, or he said something about like he had been rage texting. He did admit that he had been rage texting her while he was in treatment. She had said that, and he had said that. And then he claims that once he realized he was like doing a bad thing, that's when he stopped. But she says that he stopped rage texting her because she blocked him. So, you know, I believe her over him, obviously, because like out of the two people here, we know who's the liar. Now I'm just gonna play a clip here from when she talks about how he claims that she reached out to him to hook up.
Is so public, so he's trying to make it look like, oh, well, Brittany texted me about hooking up, so I must not be that bad of a person. That is not how that went. Jax actually texted me first, saying that he wanted to hook up. It did not happen. I had a weak moment one time, and I did say something. Zach's gonna kill me because I don't even know if he knows this. I do know that. Okay, I did tell you. Okay, I did have a weak moment one time where I was like, maybe we should just so that just like I hate. I don't want to say the F word, but let's be real. We all know that that type of sex sometimes is the best. So it's like, mama better get something out of this. Yeah, but it did not happen. We did not hook up. So, but he said it to me first. And of course, he goes on that podcast and tries to out me and make me look like that I was like trying to hook up with him all the time. It was a one time thing.
So she's saying that, like, I was actually surprised by that. Like, I just thought he blatantly made that up entirely and that she had probably had texted him about cruise or something and he's pretending that she was texting him to hook up. So I was really, really surprised to hear that. So I was wrong. But yeah, I totally agree. Those things do happen all the time. Like, it's confusing when you're going through a separation. You still have feelings for the person, and there's moments where you guys are getting along and things are going well. But do I believe that she initiated it? No. Do I believe her when she says that he initiated it? Hell yes. And am I so happy for her that it didn't happen? 100%. So, an article came out recently saying that Jax rear ended a car. So, this is from TMZ. It says Jax Taylor hit a car in Los Angeles traffic yesterday, admitting he got into a fender bender and left the scene after supposedly seeing no damage to the vehicle or injuries to the people in the car. Here's the deal. A woman named Michelle West posted to Nextdoor Thursday morning claiming her boyfriend was stopped at a red light in Valley Village, a neighborhood in the San Fernando Valley of LA, when a vehicle ran into the back of his car. West says her BF chased the vehicle driven by the Valley Star to a nearby gas station where a paparazzo took photos and videos of a man who appears to be Jax chatting with another person in the aftermath of the accident. Check out the clip. The two men survey the back of the silver sedan, searching for any damage, and chat for a while before Jax hops into his truck and drives off. The owner of the silver car goes into the street and appears to take pictures of the truck's license plate before exchanging words with the driver and going on his way. Photos taken of the back of the vehicle obtained by TMZ don't appear to show much damage to it. A rep for Jax tells TMZ Jax was involved in what he believed to be a minor fender bender yesterday afternoon when his vehicle bumped into the rear end of a car in front of him while at a red light. The driver immediately stepped out of his vehicle, enraged, which caused an unpleasant interaction between both parties. The statement continues Jax saw no physical damage to either vehicle and no apparent injuries to either involved and therefore proceeded to leave the scene. Since this altercation, Jax has filed a claim with his insurance company to investigate further into the details and will follow the recommendations provided by his insurance company. Law enforcement sources tell us the man who was allegedly rear ended came into the police station but was told to file an online report. It's unclear if he's done so. That said, Michelle West says that she and her boyfriend aren't giving up on this, saying thankfully he took pictures of the damage and Jax's license plate at the gas station and they will hold Taylor accountable. Obviously, it's been a tumultuous year for Jax, who is going through a messy divorce with Brittany Cartwright. He entered inpatient treatment for mental health reasons over the summer, and while he's still filming The Valley with his ex, the former couple seemingly kept their distance on set. So it's just crazy because it almost seems like Jax can't go a week without getting himself in some sort of predicament or trouble. And it reminds me of when I went to this fan event, not the last one I went to, but this one I went to maybe like a month ago. And it was the beginning of October. And the time where he was really rude to me. And I had said to his PR rep, Lori Kale, I'm like, is he okay? Like, is he, I don't know, he's being super rude. And she's like, oh, well, he's going through a lot. And I had remembered like the day before was when his divorce documents had come out online and it showed he was giving like full custody of Cruz to Brittany and that he was never officially married because he had like filled out the form wrong. It just reminds me of that because it just feels like he's always going through something, right? So when she had said like, he's going through something, I'm like, Right. There's always a day, right? There's always something. And speaking of accountability, this is one of those times, right? And like, because he is a public figure, he should know better than to try to walk away from things like this. People know who you are. That's what you've always wanted, right? You've wanted to be a star. So now that you're a star, people know who you are, and you can't get away with, crimes as easily because people know who you are and they know where to find you. So between Jackson and Brittany, I mean, it's never a dull moment, and it's always a big news day. And I guess thank you guys for that. Oh, Jackson, Brittany. Oh, in a little bit of other Vanderpump Rules news, just a smidge more. Do you guys remember Charlie Burnett from season 8? So the dreaded season 8. I actually liked season 8. A lot of people didn't. Whatever. So in season 8, they brought on a whole bunch of different characters, including Dana, Danica, and Charlie Burnett. Charlie Burnett had gone on a date with that guy Brett, who was also one of the new guys at Sir, and she ended up continuing on the show for season 9 and a bit of season 10, but she was full-time season 9. And I always knew this because I'm just such a sleuth. But the boyfriend that she is currently engaged to, Corey, she's been with him for 8 years. And she just posted on the weekend that it's their 8 year anniversary and that they were going out and having like this big celebration. And I'm like, I knew it because she had never actually posted how long they'd been together. But I was such a sleuth and had looked back for so many years through photos where I knew it had been at least 7 years. So season 8 of Vanderpump Rules filmed in 2019, meaning that she had already been with Corey for 5 years, meaning that her date with Brett was fake, which, okay, fine, right? Like, I'm not like slighting anything. But again, I want our reality shows to be as real as possible. So to know that she was in like a full blown long term relationship when they were trying to manufacture drama for the show and have her go on this date with Brett, which actually upset Sheena, when in all honesty, she was never going to date Brett because she had a long term relationship. So I hate that. I just like I'm happy for her and I'm happy for her 8 year relationship. I just hate that Vanderpump Rules lied to us a little. Okay, so let's move on to Bravo Fan Fest. So there was a Bravo Fan Fest in Miami this past weekend. I didn't go, unfortunately, because I am poor. But it looked like a really fun time, and it was sort of like a mini BravoCon because there is no BravoCon this year. So we ended up getting like a little bit of tea out of it. I ended up, just following a lot of accounts and watching a lot of the stories from Bravo TV just to see what was going on there. Kyle Richards was asked a question about whether she's dating, and people were really annoyed because she basically avoided the question. She's like, I've been single or I've never been single before. This is such a weird feeling, so I don't really know what to say. People were just like, we're not doing this with you anymore. We had Cynthia Bailey telling us that Kenya's great TV and it really sucked to lose her on The Real Housewives of Atlanta. She also said that she's dating a younger man, not Kenya, but Cynthia is. She's dating a younger man who lives in Amsterdam, which is pretty interesting. I hope we get more on that. We got introduced to the new Real Housewife of Miami, Stephanie Shojai, and she seemed really pretty, really cute. I guess we'll get to know her more as the season airs. Sierra Miller was there from Summer House. She said she would never date a Bravo celebrity again, and you'll recall what happened to her with West Wilson, and I don't blame her. It doesn't matter that so many of them are cute because it's just kind of a nightmare. It's like dating your neighbor in a sense because you're always going to run into them. Lisa and Lenny from The Real Housewives of Miami are officially divorced, so that's great for her. That took forever. She said she's still doing great with Jody, and that's amazing. But I think that divorce and how long that took and the back and forth was just so much on her that it obviously really affected her ability to move on. Lenny was actually ordered to pay Lisa 15,000 a month in child support for their two kids, son Logan 8 and daughter Elle 3, and 10,000 per month for Elle once Logan turns 18. Lenny and Lisa were also ordered to follow a marital settlement agreement from June 2023 and a parenting plan they created on November 4th, 2024. The news was first announced by Lisa's Real Housewives of Miami co-star Adriana Demora at the 2024 Bravo Fan Fest at the Bravo Besties panel. So good for Lisa. Move on, girl. And as you'll recall, Alexia Napola and her husband Todd, like, sort of got divorced a few months ago, but then were seen out and about together a whole bunch. So she says is that she and Todd are still working on things and that their split came from stress due to the show, but also like outside family issues. But she actually said that she would leave the show for her family if she had to. Wow. Well, I hope she does not have to. I really do. I like her. So we have the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills taglines. They finally came in, and so let's go through them and see if we like them. Okay, so Dorit. I might look like a doll, but don't wind me up. I don't. get it in this context. I feel like this is going to be the season of Dorit. She has so much going on. We got more about her and her divorce than we did from Kyle the entire last season about Mauricio. Like, she's sitting here smoking, she's yelling at Kyle. Like, this is Dorit's season, and I just feel like they didn't give her what she deserved. Like, I might look like a doll, but don't wind me up. Like, don't make me mad. Okay. I feel like it could have been something like I might be going through the challenge of a lifetime, and I'll talk about it as long as I want to. I don't know. Okay, Kyle Richards. These hills have eyes, and they're all staring at me. I don't like it because it's conceited. I know that they don't like write their own. It's just, yeah, it's very conceited. It's true, right? Like everyone is staring at her, everything is all about her, but it gives me like an icky vibe to be like, everyone's looking at me. And it just doesn't feel very Kyle to me. Okay, Garcelle. I've been in the game too long to play by somebody else's rules. Now, she's been in like the industry, the acting industry, the media industry for such a long time. So I don't know if that's what she means by like, I've been in the game for such a long time. And I guess I like the play on that. But again, it's still kind of bland. But Garcelle might be giving bland this season. Like, I like that she calls people on their shit, but she doesn't really have a lot of her own drama. So it's sort of hard to know if this comes from anything because a lot of times these taglines come from things that happen during the season. And so to me, that just doesn't really mean anything. Sutton says, I honor my fine Southern manners by putting you in your place. I like that. I like fitting in her Southernness with putting someone in their place, which is like a housewives play. I like it. It's cute. I wish they had done something with the name like that would have been cuter, but nobody asked me. Okay. Erica Jane. In Beverly Hills, money buys a lot, but my independence, priceless. I like that because like this is the year of Erica being like fully independent. She has no legal issues, she has no marital issues. All she sort of has is everyone else's drama. So the first time she's fully independent, priceless. I do like that. All right, and then we have Bose. Introducing the greatest product I've ever marketed, myself. Now, what she's told her, or sorry, what she's told us about her is that she was like the CEO of like Netflix and like all these huge companies. So, given that, I do like it. The greatest product I've ever marketed, myself. Actually, I wish it was me. Like, introducing the greatest product I've ever marketed, me. Anyway, they're okay. I feel like those are okay. I feel like we can do better. This is the Real Houses of Beverly Hills. This is like our like flagship franchise. Is that what you would call it? I mean, I feel like flagship typically means the first, and it's not the first, but it is like our best, right? Like if you would tell anyone to go and watch any Real Housewives series, you would always tell them Beverly Hills, and you would always tell them to start at the beginning. So I felt like those were a little lackluster. I like a couple of them. I like a couple of them okay, but none of them am I like, wow. And I like when they wow me. But maybe we will get some mid-season taglines that wow us. Let's see. All right, let's get into the Real Housewives of OC reunion part 3, which aired last week. And it sort of flowed differently. I've told you guys before that typically we get a lot in the reunion part 1, a lot in part 3, and like part 2 is usually a dead end. And it sort of didn't happen that way this time. It sort of happened where we got the most in part 1, then second part 2, then the least part 3. Still a good episode regardless. We get Andy defending Shannon, saying that she spent a good portion of last season defending Johnny J, which is so true. So he's trying to make the point that, like, this whole idea that she's out there lying about him and talking shit about him isn't true because all she did last season was try to defend him. And then Shannon says that the only thing she would complain to the ladies about is that she paid for everything in the first half of the relationship. Shannon points out there are no lies, despite the fact that Alexis keeps saying that Shannon is lying. She's like, where are the lie? Why do you keep calling me a liar? And Alexis says, well, we did forensic accounting and he paid for more of the relationship. And like, I just don't understand. Why did you do forensic accounting? Like, how much did that cost? This is ridiculous. The fact that this fight is over who paid more in a relationship for a period of time, and that's what makes someone a good person or a bad person, like that is absolutely insane to me. Also, I'm still very confused about these numbers anyways, because even Shannon, when she was saying like, look at these receipts for like dinner and like all these dinners that I paid for. Okay, but are you counting the food that you ate too? Like, how are you dividing these bills? How is John dividing these bills? Because if you've gone somewhere, for example, like a hotel or on a vacation, technically, like for example, if Shannon paid for John and herself, he then doesn't owe her money for her portion, right? So I just don't really understand the forensicness of this accounting and if it takes into account who ate what, or if they went into like a big family dinner, if some of the food was Shannon's daughters, some of the food was John's daughters. How are you dividing this to determine that you spent X amount on him in the relationship? I don't get it. So then they give us a Johnny and Jay and Alexis confessional, which like gag me with a spoon. And he says that he was single for a year before meeting Alexis. What? What? Dude. Shannon pointed out that John told her he loved her 2 months before he met Alexis. She shows the text. And Alexis keeps referring to Shannon and John's relationship as like friends with benefits, which is really unfair and really trivializes things. And Emily calls Alexis an idiot and the dumbest girl she's ever met, which honestly, despite Emily's kind of actions during this reunion, I'm really obsessed with this. And even Andy keeps insisting that Shannon has moved on. He's like, she has moved on. She has. Gina is such a queen in this episode because she really stands up for Shannon and says, like, Shannon never had the opportunity to even be sad. And so it must have been so hurtful for Shannon to see John and Alexis so happy together so quickly. And y'all can say what you want about Gina, but like the grace she's given Shannon this year is truly something to be admired. Like she really didn't have to. But back to the Johnny J thing for a second and being single for a year. So there ends up being like this whole argument, like I said, that Alexis is saying it was like friends with benefits or whatever. Even if it was friends with benefits, I mean, she has proved that they spent so much time together that they got back together in April of 2023 and that they were together up until 10 days after the accident. Regardless, he wasn't single. Like the way he's explaining it is like, I was single for a year. I took the time to get to know myself, to move on, to get to the good place, but you didn't. You were not single for a year. You were in and out of a relationship constantly. So to say you're single for a year is to imply that you're in this amazing place to be in a relationship. And it's a dig at Shannon, who you were in a relationship with during that time. But anyways, okay. Emily says that if this was just about the money, then why didn't he accept Shannon's offer? And Alexis is like, because he wanted to respond to it. And if she disparaged him, and Emily's like, but you can do that here. And if he had just signed it, Shannon wouldn't have been able to say anything for the majority of the season. And this is hella true. Like, if all he wanted was for Shannon not to disparage him, then sign a mutual non-disparagement agreement. Like, this makes no sense. And even Tamara is saying, oh, like, John did himself no favors by doing that confessional. Like, oh, Ugh. And then Tamara ends up apologizing to Shannon, but it's just like the same old song and dance. Like she's always so aggressive for like the majority of the season, and then she apologizes. And then she sort of pulls out these text messages that she had printed out between her and Shannon that show that she was there for Shannon right before she left for Scotland, right after Shannon's DUI. And even though they're in a good place in this moment, like they're reading them as like a good thing, like, oh yeah, that is really sweet when Tamara said that. I'm curious why Tamara brought these in the first place. Like, I think she brought them to be aggressive and to be mean and to try to point out in case Shannon came at her and said, like, you weren't there for me. She's gonna be like, yes, I was. Yes, I was. I have the text. Look at them right here. So I don't know why it ended up going like that, but it just always seems to go like that for Tamara. She just always apologizes, fully apologizes at the end. Everyone forgets what she's done, and then round and round we go next year. The reunion ends, and then there's like this pickup scene that I found super confusing. So all of the women get together, and so apparently after the finale party, which was like 7 or 8 months ago, so not the reunion and not the finale, but the finale party, Terry and Heather and John and Alexis and Tamara and Eddie went to dinner. And John told them that he did hear the crash with Shannon. And his daughter was like, look, like you guys are fighting. I don't think you should like do anything. Let me go look. So she goes to look and she saw Shannon pull off. And then Heather said that her jaw was on the floor when she heard this. So Emily's like, why is this coming up now? And Heather says something about making a list of what she wanted to talk about at the reunion. Okay, well, why didn't Tamara say it? And Heather and Shannon did talk about the crash and whether Shannon was using Heather and the whole like Jeff Lewis of it all on the reunion. So why didn't it come up then or like at any point in the last 7 months? It's just really confusing to me. And then Tamara tells Shannon that John says that she punched him. Now this came from Tamara, so initially I was like, no, that didn't happen. But Shannon doesn't like flat out deny it. She says that she keeps being told that she had punched him or hit him, but that she doesn't remember that. And Gina, just being the class act friend that she is, reminds her that she will take accountability and responsibility if she did do that, just like she did before. So everyone is supporting Shannon and it's lovely, but I think the whole situation is being misconstrued because this, like, being held from Shannon for so long makes me feel like so unsafe and uncomfortable with this group of women. Like, I actually don't think this pickup scene was a good thing, but I digress. I don't know. It ends with Gina saying, Shannon, we love you, but you've got to get better taste in men. Amen, sister. So, in typical Alexis Bellino fashion, she had to give us her thoughts on part three of the reunion via Instagram. So, here is what she said on Instagram after the reunion. I just had the chance to watch the reunion of Real Housewives of OC season 18. I'm letting everyone know that I'm broken by this season. I was already broken by losing my mom 3 months prior to filming, so it was a difficult decision to sign back on. Yet I went in thankfully. It brought me out of my bed and out of my depression. But now I've been beaten down so badly, so wrongly, and so many truths left out. So much left on the cutting room floor that would have never been brought, so much hate to me and my family. There are receipts, many, and they will be brought out this week. The lawsuit only finalized because the opposition knew he had receipts to bring to court. She had to pay up because she would have lost in court. Yeah, she paid 60,000 of the 75, but thank you for that 60. John gave you a discount, thumbs up. The lie that quote unquote someone paid for everything is squashed by the fact of what our forensic accountant did. 50,000 spent by John year 1, then 380,000 over 3 years, then 2 loans of 75K which she finally had to pay because the evidence would have squashed her in court. Truth prevails. It's unfortunate that I didn't get the opportunity for these receipts to be shown at the reunion, although they were brought by me and they were very available to be shown. So now John and I will bring them in our own voice. This is never how I would have thought or wanted this to happen. I also want it to be known that I never thought I'd be brought back this season to be the villain. I had known that I would have, if I had known that, I wouldn't have signed. I live in love, not anger or hate or villainous. I truly lie awake every night wondering why it was portrayed this way. Because you literally just said I'm bringing out receipts this week. Okay. Sorry, still reading. Unfortunately, this season was portrayed this way. This season made a hit. This season made a hit show at mine and John's expense. I thought my beating all season would be finally advocated for at the reunion and the truth would prevail. Sometimes God has a different plan. I will now use my own platform and my own voice to share the truth with you because I do not live in toxicity, falsehoods, hateful behavior, victimhood, or lies. I signed on to reality and now I will bring the reality to light. I will never act or become a victim. I will simply live with God and stand in truth. He always prevails. Hashtag stay tuned. So she was doing this shit all season, guys. Remember, she said that she was going to bring out the truth after every episode and tell her story because her story wasn't being told. Okay, well, she didn't do that. Now she's saying she's going to bring out receipts this week. We don't want to see them. Like, what we want, and we've been very, very clear, we want her to stop. We want her to go away. And every time we tell her that, she's like, no, no, let me tell you more. And then we keep saying, no, no, Alexis, we don't care. We want you to go away. So I think we're gonna get receipts this week, and I'm gonna have to block her because I don't care anymore. Shannon has now provided a wire transfer on Instagram to show that she has paid John Jansen in full, and she wrote, "Enjoy John W. Jansen, enjoy Alexis underscore Bellino." We are done with this. We are done with the Real Housewives of OC season 18. We are done with Alexis Bellino. We are done with Johnny J. So please, please do not bring out receipts this week, or I will have to block you. Okay. Let's move on to the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City from this past week. So we have Lisa and Heather getting together to talk about the trip that everybody else went on to Palm Springs. Lisa said that they heard a different story about what happened between Heather and Bronwyn at like Bronwyn's house, and that she was upset that they called Heather on the trip and Lisa wouldn't stick up for her. Heather kind of goes off about how close knit of a group the original group is, and that she will need to like quote unquote teach Bronwyn. And I mean, they're so close, they're willing to like go the distance on finding out if one of them is lying about the other. Like, this is sort of coming off kind of elitist and bullying, and I don't really like it. Like, I don't think Bronwyn is two-faced. I really don't. I don't get why, like, I do get why Heather has mistrust because of Monica, but she's projecting that onto Bronwyn. Bronwyn hasn't done anything, like, in my opinion. It's clear from this convo that Lisa is Team Heather, and that makes me sad for Bronwyn because Bronwyn said something earlier in an earlier episode about how her entering Lisa's group of friends has changed their relationship. And it has. And I've seen that happen before. I've seen that happen with pretty much anyone Lisa Vanderpump has brought on the show. It has always changed their relationship. So we see this really interesting sit down between Bronwyn and her dad. Sorry, I mean Todd. And Todd says, in the 10 years we've been together, I've never seen you act the way you acted. He said she ruined a perfectly nice afternoon. And he says that the way she acted wasn't very becoming of her. Bronwyn tried to defend herself by explaining that she's acting the same way as the rest of the ladies, and Todd says that she should have just like left with her dignity. Bronwyn tells the camera that Todd's approval means everything to her, so this is really hard for her. Todd says that they are sucking you into this sewer of bullshit they live in, and you gotta step out. So clearly he's talking about the show itself and not necessarily the friend group. Like he's saying the yelling and screaming associated with being a housewife is unbecoming, and he doesn't want like her to do it. Bronwyn tells the camera that Todd doesn't like her to publicly show her emotions, but not privately either. And that's actually made me really sad. Like, if she doesn't get to feel like she can break down and confide in and be emotional with her partner, what kind of partnership is this? And like, I honestly find their relationship a little upsetting. Like, this woman has so much love and admiration and respect for her husband, and he doesn't seem like he likes the person that she really is. Like, initially, I thought they were just like a super solid couple, but if she can't express her feelings and is reprimanded when she does, like, what kind of life is that? I don't know, this relationship. So then Angie has her dad over for dinner, and they also end up having a very super emotional conversation about her mom, who was an alcoholic. Now, this I didn't know. I thought Angie had a very super close relationship with her mom. So Angie says like her mom was an alcoholic. This caused a lot of anger and confusion for her because she didn't feel like she had a mom, but like she knew she wanted a mom, but she also knew that like it's a disease, so it was very confusing and difficult. She says that her mom passed away when she was 8 from alcoholism, and she felt like on her own for a lot of her life, even when her mother was alive. So she sees what attention is like now with Electra that she didn't have with her mom. And honestly, that's so incredibly complicated. Like, you love your mom, she's your mom, but she didn't give you what you needed because she was sick, but that doesn't make growing up without a present mother any less hard. I honestly, like I said, had no idea Angie struggled with her relationship with her mother, and that's so difficult. And it's so amazing that she had such a great dad. They had 7 kids, and he was sort of saying that, like, your mom wanted a lot of kids because that's what she thought she wanted, but then she just sort of felt overwhelmed by it. And she tells her dad that she often didn't feel like she had a mom, and that's why she's such a helicopter mom with Electra. And she doesn't want like to be mad at her mom, but she still is. Because in her mind, she didn't understand how her mom couldn't just like get better and be there for her family. But like I said, at the same time, knows it's a disease and it's just so complicated. Mary has an Audrey Hepburn party where everyone is supposed to dress as Audrey Hepburn. And Heather is rude right out of the gate and says that it's important that everyone was invited here today, which didn't happen with the Palm Springs trip, which is obviously a slight at Bronwyn. Heather, Bronwyn did invite you. She invited you over so that you guys could figure your shit out so that you could come, and then you just ended up being aggressive and wouldn't accept her apology, and that's why you didn't get to go on the trip. So the way they're singling out Bronwyn here, I just don't really like it. So Brittany shows up late and she expresses to everyone that Mary is the only one that invited her to do something this week, and she's upset that Angie brought wine to her church group. And Angie's like, I don't know, you're drinking. I see you drinking. You're like doing 3 guys. Everyone's mouth drops. And Mary tells the camera that Jared Osmond has actually been sliding into her DMs. And they show it, and I'm like dying. Like, what's the deal with this guy? Like, is he trying to be the next Slade Smiley? Maybe the next John Jansen? It's honestly hilarious. So then Heather and Bronwyn actually have like a good moment when Heather admits she's hurt based on what happened in the group in the past, but she's open to starting fresh. Thank you, Jesus. We need to move on for the second half of the season. Then Brittany stands up and with every ounce of Sheena Shea in her says, what about me? She says she wants the same sort of a kumbaya moment, and she's she's so messy and ridiculous, but in such an enchanting way. Like I can't stop looking. Like she's ridiculous, but I want to see her on every season going forward. I want to see her dating. I want to see her talk about herself. I want to see the hot messiness that she. You know who she is? She's old school Kristen Doty, right? Like we loved Kristen Doty, but she was a hot mess. I think that's Brittany. Brittany is just like an older Kristen Doty. I just came up with that. I just think that. Okay, then Angie expresses to Meredith that she wants to move forward with her, but she feels like she can't because of like the Sean stuff and the Meredith thing with the whole podcast and the David Yontif of it all. And I don't even know. So Meredith tries to play the podcast to prove that Sean had said some bad stuff about Brooks. And then Whitney grabs Meredith's phone and she says that she was trying to turn up the volume, but she was touching the screen. So I'm not really sure what she was trying to do, but she said she was trying to up the volume. Meredith freaks out on her for grabbing her phone. She starts screaming, causing chaos. And Mary's like, you need to leave. You need to get out. And Meredith's like, are you serious? And she's like, yeah, if you're going to act like this, you need to leave. But then she didn't like actually want her to leave. And then Meredith starts crying, saying that she's being attacked for the millionth time. And she ends up leaving. But I think next week we're actually going to get a really sad episode, because I think it's going to be the episode where Mary sits down with her son, Robert Jr., and makes a decision about what's going to happen with him and his, his drug problem going forward. It looks really, really emotional. So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode this week. Like I said, let me know. Reach out to me in the DMs at the Bravo Investigator at I Take Bravo Very Seriously. Email me, Brunchandbravo. Let me know how you want the show to go forward, going forward. But yeah, I was sort of thinking maybe Pop Culture Mondays and recaps later in the week, but let me know. Love you, BBs. See you next time. Thank you for listening. This show is brought to you in partnership with Hurrdat Media. If you want to listen to this show or any other episode, you can do that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to Hurrdat Media's YouTube channel to watch my full-length video podcast episodes. You can follow me on Instagram at I Take Bravo Very Seriously and at The Bravo Investigator. You can follow me on TikTok at The Bravo Investigator. Head to buymeacoffee.com/I Take Bravo Very Seriously to buy me a coffee. Join the Patreon at patreon.com/I Take Bravo Very Seriously for 4 extra mini episodes a month, early episodes, ad-free, Q&A, and exclusive access to bonus content. If you enjoyed the show, please leave me a 5-star review. Love you, BBs. See you next time.
A Hurrdat Media Production.